Atenção, as próximas sessões irão começar. Ocupem seus lugares.
Attention, the next sessions are about to begin. Please take your seats.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mariana Sgarioni. I am a journalist specializing in sustainability, and I will be moderating this session. First, I will talk a little about SENAI. The National Industrial Training Service, SENAI, is participating in this forum with the firm purpose of contributing to the construction of a strategic dialogue between education and technology, aimed at promoting the circular economy. With the mission of driving the country's sustainable development, SENAI works to increase the competitiveness of industry through professional education, innovation, and technology. It has more than 1,000 operational units throughout Brazil, of which 168 are dedicated to professional training in the state of São Paulo. More than 3 million enrollments have been made in professional and technological education courses nationwide, with approximately 1 million in São Paulo. Recognized for its excellence in professional training, SENAI reinforces in this space its commitment to connecting knowledge, industry, and sustainability on a global scale. The transition to a circular economy model requires prepared professionals capable of thinking in a systemic way, proposing innovative solutions, and leading concrete transformation. In this session, we will reflect on how education, in constant dialogue with technological innovation, can drive the development of technical skills, which are essential to face challenges of a successful circular transition, in addition to discussing circular design in curricula and teaching methodologies based on sharing of experiences and good practices. Well, may this meeting inspire and challenge us to continue building a more sustainable future. Welcome, everyone. And now, to open our session, we are going to listen to Emma Westerland. Emma is an education and sustainability designer at Novia University of Applied Sciences in Finland. She works both with the university on sustainability initiatives and with the integration of circularity into curricula. Welcome, Emma, please. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
I'm really happy to be
me.
here. And thank you for the invitation. You need to... I think there's this... is the sound okay? Okay, brilliant. Today, I wanted to explore the role of education on the path from linear to circular systems. I've been in the world of education my entire career. Students are my absolutely favorite people. And the past 5-7 years, alongside the more and more alarming reports on climate emergency, my interest in sustainability has grown from an interest to a somehow urgent feeling of that we need a systemic change in society. And I, as working in the educational world, I have the privilege to try to do that in the cornerstones of the society. For doing that change, universities and educational institutions is a really good arena, but sometimes also rather frustrating. Frustrating because the change is too slow, and also frustrating because there's a huge gap between what we know and what we actually do. Many of us should completely reassess our mindsets and our approaches. And we don't have all the answers at the moment. We are all in a learning journey. System changes are needed in society, in economy, and of course in our values and in our educational institutions. There are over 200 million higher education students worldwide, and vocational and professional education plays a vital role in many countries, with approximately 1/3 of young adults having vocational education as their highest level of education. We have the power to influence these students daily. That's a huge responsibility. All these students are the future workforce. Their activities and decisions and choices will be totally important in the future, and how we educate them and what we educate them is crucial. So the question is, are we truly preparing young people for the challenges today and for the challenges of the future? Are we equipping them with the skills needed in the future? Or are we still educating for a linear system? There is a risk that circular economy still is just some kind of green glitter over the linear system. We need to change that. The Circular Gap report was presented yesterday. It doesn't really look good. We're not in the right direction at the moment, so we need to try even harder. And it's not possible to change economic system without fundamentally changing the mindset of many of us. And we also need to change our behaviors. We need to understand why we need a systemic change. And to that, education is a very good tool. The path from linear societies and systems to circular ones goes through understanding the big picture. That is not easy, but that is exactly what we need to work for in our organizations. Education alone isn't enough, unfortunately. If that would be the case, it would be just to do it. But the problem is that since education isn't enough, we need understanding. And understanding is something totally different than education. Well, not maybe totally different. Of course, education can lead to understanding, but we need to go deeper than just education. We must redesign how and what we educate. Just a small example. We have redesigned our bachelor's program in graphic design to focus less on market communication and contributing to increased consumption, to instead focus on visual communication and critical thinking in a complex world. It's a huge difference, but still it's the same program, but we focus in a different way because we want the handprints to be something different than it used to be. The greatest impact on sustainability lies in the hands of our students and alumni. Our handprints far exceeds our footprint if we take this responsibility. A true circular economy is not about recycling. True circularity is about not using more resources than the earth can regenerate without harm and keep those resources in the loop. We who educate in the parts of the world where material consumption is very high and unsustainable need to guide our students and ourselves away from that, even if it means that we need to rethink almost everything we know and do. We need to learn how to live without fossil fuels. All we teach should take us and our societies in that direction. We need to teach our students and ourselves the difference between desire and need. We need to reconnect with nature and teach our students the importance of biodiversity and a healthy planet. Nature is fully circular and absolutely crucial for life on Earth. Every student, no matter of field of study, should learn that. Linear thinking views the climate crisis as a problem to solve, while complex understanding, on the other hand, sees it as a systematic imbalance that require reshaping our way of being. The skills needed now and in the future include critical thinking, curiosity, general education for everyone, and global awareness, empathy, and compassion. We need to change our value and how we define success. And we need to give our students the understanding of how the whole world is interconnected and how all the problems are interconnected. We cannot work in silos in different fields. Everything is interconnected, both between fields and globally interconnected. Also, therefore, a true cooperation between Global South and Global North is essential. At our university, we believe in the power of collaboration and mutual growth. We have project partners around the globe, and we learn a lot. Again, to give you an example, we have a project together with 2 Zambian universities and 1 other Finnish university, where we work with the value chain of biogas and also with capacity building within sustainability and circular economy, both for students and staff in both countries. That kind of cooperation is so valuable and so very much needed in the world today. Finland is well known for our high quality education, and of course we are very proud of that, and we keep working for developing that every day. But we also realize that we need to learn from people, from students, from colleagues all over the world with a very different perspective than ours. So what is the call to action? We need to redesign all curriculums at all levels, and we have a lot of national roadmaps on circular economy to help us do that. We need to train teachers at all levels, and we need to design new degree programs that actually answers to the need in society today. I have the privilege to lead a master's program in circular design, and that is fully made because of the need in the society today. And that is great, or it's very interesting to do. When future generations look back at our time, will they say we did enough? Or will they say that we did too little, too slowly? Our shared future begins with our collective resistance. It is found in our ability to reimagine, redesign, reform, rebuild, rethink, and resist. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, for your very important comments. Now, we will listen to Flávio de Miranda. Flávio is a consultant and professor on circular economy, representing Senai São Paulo. Flávio, please.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here as a representative of Senai São Paulo. Senai, for the ones who doesn't know, is an 80-year-old institution, non-profit institution, whose mission is to improve the competitiveness of Brazilian industry through professional learning, innovation, and technology development. And in my words, I would like to share some insights on our experience on circular economy, including some results from a research we conducted in Senai with the support of GIZ on the competencies for a circular economy. And the main message here is that saying that circular economy demands a new kind of professional with a new worldview, but also a new set of knowledge and new competencies and skills. And in fact, this challenge is already placed. We have already a demand for industry to adapt, and with the new expectations for those professionals. In one hand, it demands new careers, like, for example, a biogas plant operator. For other side, we have also a demand to review the existing curricula, for example, including competencies and knowledge on design for circularity in engineering schools. And at last, we also have some professions that are becoming obsolete, so we will need to reskill people. For example, putting some specific content for repairing techniques in our technical for electronic devices, for example. Well, summarizing, circular economy will require professionals to act in a new set of competencies in form of both knowledge and skills. But also, for Senai, this means also train people not to only attend and contribute to specific industrial goals, but also to be an active agent of transformation. But what are those skills and competencies for the circular economy? And generally, in Senai, we unfold this in two concerns. First and foremost, professionals will need to develop a broader problem-based perspective. The idea is to move beyond a narrow view to only look at internal processes and also supply chains to a broader view of a circular value network. This includes bringing new competencies not only in the technical aspect, but also, for example, in the regulatory side, on public policy frameworks, and also effective communication. One example is a packaging designer that needs to put some new skills to support a beverage company to maintain a returnable scheme for their packaging in cooperation with the municipality, retailers, and so on. And second, there is an urgent need to evolve how people are preparing themselves to face a circular mindset at every professional activity, proposing practical solutions that break away from the linear culture. This becomes critical if we consider the thousands of products we will need to rethought, we will need to rethink to, for example, actions of circularity. One example are the thousands of electronic devices we will need to replan and redesign for repair, remanufacture, or even recycle. But also, as Emma already said, we need to develop some soft skills. She talked about empathy, about curiosity, but I would like to add some more technical aspects. For example, a life cycle perspective. For example, the understanding of the power of circular economy, values and principles. The understanding of an interdisciplinary thinking and also effective communication capacities. But how to operate those transformations into practice? Well, at Senai, we believe in the power of a renewed professional education. The idea here is to prepare people for the jobs related to the circular economy and those jobs already in demand by industry. But the training offered by the market so far is not enough. First, in terms of areas of action, we mapped a lot of different subjects and there is a significant gap that we need to fulfill in the training programs on circular economy. Some examples from Brazilian reality are the eco-design to avoid planned obsolescence in the electronic industry, but also some sustainable, bio-based and low-carbon materials for packaging. And why not? Waste recovery technicians, including biomethane recovery, a very important subject now in Brazil. So, To meet this pent-up demand, we need new programs to develop at technical, undergraduate, and postgraduate programs. Some examples of those professions are at the technical level, a solar panel assembler. At a more evaluated level, maybe a circular fashion designer. And why not, in the graduate level, waste data engineers? Well, this is from one side on the areas of action, but also we have some competencies to develop. And there is also a huge gap to fulfill. First, we need to map, we need to identify these gaps in each area of action in terms of both general competencies and specific skills to develop. And this discussion must involve all stakeholders, industry, government, civil society, to be in a more broad point of view of the necessary actions and necessary competencies to develop. And this can strengthen the connection among government, industry, and training institution, which is a very, very important subject for us. And then we can involve what we teach and how we teach. Regarding the what part, new knowledge must be developed and disseminated, but because there is a clear need to include to all people a basic understanding of circular economy concepts and principles. But other knowledge are more sectorial specific, and we are working on this, and some examples include the use of sustainable fibers at the textile sector, the definition of designing for reparability criteria on electronics, and the treatment for reuse technologies for packaging designers. And in parallel to the what, we need also work on how to teach, on pedagogical strategies. And then, connecting with Emma's words, we need to train the trainers. We need to understand that traditional pedagogic strategies are not preparing our students for the future, for the circular future, and mainly to be an active part of the transformation. So we must break away from our outdated paradigms, transforming the way we teach, shifting values and worldviews, but also adopting collaborative, network-based, and problem-based pedagogies. Other very important part is emphasizing hands-on activities like the use of labs, prototypes, and other kinds of strategies to foster real engagement of our students, as Emma reinforced. So, to conclude, how we can overcome all of those challenges? In Senai, we prepare the students into different and separate areas. First, we promote a circular literacy to every educational levels, introducing new curricula contents, short courses, general courses, and other basic knowledge that is fundamental to all. And this serves as the basis for training pathways. And second, we have specialized courses or modules to attend sectorial demand. So we are already mapping it, and this is done in close partnership with companies and industry associations. We have a slide here, if you can put it. So I'm proud to announce that we produced the first textbook on circular economy in Latin America, and Senai gently gives some free copies for download. If you want to download, it's available in 3 idioms, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. I hope you like the content. It's designed to be used in classrooms to all our students with case studies and exercises. And the next one, please. And we also are proud to launch 5 short courses, 4 hours each, dedicated to circular economy in 3 languages, also English, Spanish, and Portuguese, free for all. And we hope people can use this material to advance on circular economy engagement. Well, I hope this panel inspires everyone to promote a transformative professional education towards circular economy and give everyone the opportunity to be part of the change. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you, Flávio, very much for your contributions. For our third and final presentation, I will invite Kai Lindon. Kai is Director of Digital Engineering at Fraunhofer Institute for Production Systems and Design Technology, IPK, University Professor at Technical University. Welcome, Kai. The floor is yours.
So, thank you very much, actually, for the lovely introduction part. I feel very honored to be here today and give you my perspective, actually, on circular economy. It was actually a pleasure to be in preparations together with Emma and Flavio so far. Emma presented a very interesting skill set that is necessary to provide circular economy in education. Flavio broadened it to the industrial perspective, and I would like to go a bit deeper in this field. That's why I would like you to explore three different pillars that are enabling our industry to be more sustainable and more circular. First of all, it is stakeholder engagement. Second one, it's the convergence of material and data flows. And last but not least, the essential skills derived from that turn those challenges from education into business opportunities. So let's start with the first one. It's about circularity and stakeholder engagement. If we look into those kind of value chains, you can see this here outside in the circle, it's not a single player game. That means every stakeholder is engaged to provide and impact circularity. That actually means that, for example, if we take manufacturing into perspective, it means that we have to shift from take, make, waste towards networks that enable resource sharing and enable also co-design, co-creation, and reverse logistics. That requires actually transparency throughout the entire life cycle, that requires trust, communication across all different levels. A compelling example comes exactly from the automotive industry, where OEMs are forming circular partnerships, for example. So this is happening right now, where vehicle components are not only recycled, but also prepared for reuse and remanufacturing. That actually extends the life cycle of the product while reducing raw material dependency. But not only automotive industry, all other industrial sectors have to shift also towards circularity and demand global supply chains. That means different cultures, different skills, different competencies, different legal and economic areas are met on a global level. But actually, circularity cannot be solved on a global level. It cannot be solved against this background of global level. We need local solutions in a global context. That means, from an industrial point of view, stakeholder engagement must move beyond compliance and tick box sustainability on a local level. Understanding and data usage, beside data creation, is key for local and global knowledge and essential for better action towards stakeholder communication for more circularity. And this brings us actually to the second pillar. It's about connecting material and data flows. What you see here is not only the material and resource flow in the outer ring, but also the connected data inside this ring. It's also necessary. So circularity is often understood quite technical. It's not quite technical. It means we need to close material and or resource cycles, and automatically it means also that we have to go circular. This often fails to consider the fact that we live in a global world with a wide variety of players along the life cycle. And we cannot be circular if we don't have knowledge about the different stages of each life cycle. And it also means we cannot be circular if we don't have data along the different life cycle phases and along the different stakeholders. We often treat resources and data as separate domains. In a circular economy, this is not possible. They have to move together, they have to be developed together, and they have to also be considered together as Imagine a product where every component carries information along the entire life cycle, where it came from, what it's made of, how it is to be used or recycled, and so on. All that necessary information in terms of data can us bring to better conclusions towards circularity. Circular economy cannot scale without connecting this material and data flows. If you actually think of this way, materials are the body and data is the nervous system. That means, for example, we have to look into solutions like digital product passports that should be divided, IoT sensors, blockchains based on traceability platforms, and those technologies are revolutionizing how we track the world of the life cycles of materials, from its origins to reuse to recycling, for example. This integration actually enables real-time feedback loops that optimize maintenance, recycling, and design. However, to truly harness this potential, organizations must build systems that speak a common language. For example, interoperability standards have to be developed. Open data frameworks are crucial. So circularity is not just a technical challenge, it's a human one. And that brings us actually to the third pillar about the skills. So we need skills for circularity. That means we can state that circularity must be solved locally. To do this, we need further skills on a local level, but thinking globally. Effective circularity requires a shared understanding across departments, for example, with suppliers, customers, and even competitors. And this is not just communication, it's so-called co-creation. So what are actually the essential skills? First of all, we need product systems thinking. That means professionals must understand how decisions in one part of the value chain impact the entire system of the value chain. Second one, data literacy. So circularity depends on the ability to interpret and act based on data, from material footprints, for example, to life cycle analysis. Third one, collaboration, innovation. So whether in procurement, manufacturing, sales, or product design, the future demands co-creation across those different domains and along the entire value chain. So if we bridge back actually to the gap from the industrial perspective, from this stakeholder perspective along the life cycle, companies that invest in these cross-functional skills gain a competitive advantage. And why is that? Because circularity is not just an environmental necessity, it's a business opportunity. So let me conclude actually that circularity is not only a necessity, it's a competitive advantage from an industrial perspective. Companies that invest in these skills and integrate material and data flows can reduce cost volatility through resource efficiency, for example. They can offer premium services like repair and take-backs. They can unlock new revenue through secondary markets. And last but not least, they meet growing regulatory and consumer expectations. So that means circularity also increases resilience. So let me close with one thought. We often speak of the circular economy as a technical challenge, but it's really a human challenge, a challenge of collaboration, a challenge of mindset, and last but not least, a challenge of adaptability. If we empower stakeholders across this entire life cycle with the right skills, connecting the right data with the right material, and embrace innovation as a catalyst for transformation, then we won't just participate in the circular economy, it's the way we lead it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai, very much for your excellent presentation. Well, We have a lot of important information and reflections here. We have heard about how the circular economy fits into the context of education and its application in the training of the future professionals. We will now have a roundtable in which our speakers will answer some questions and provide a little more information on the topics presented. I would like to invite Emma Westerland and Flávio de Miranda back to the stage, please. Thank you, everyone. Well, my first question is to Emma Westerland. It's hot here in the stage. Okay, Emma, please, what are the main challenges for educators in implementing the circular economy in their classroom programs? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it challenges everything many of us know. So it's really, it comes with a lot of insecurity. We don't know how to do this. We don't know even where we're going to end up with the discussion about circular economy and all the sustainability issues. So it's really difficult to take it into the classroom when we're not really sure. And that leads us to insecurity. And not many teachers are happily going in to teaching something they're not really comfortable with. So that's the huge challenge, that we live in a time where we don't really know. But we still have to do it. And it's also, of course, very practical challenges, like very fixed or unflexible curriculums.
Yep.
And maybe we can't even decide on the curriculums ourselves. Maybe it's someone higher than the teacher doing that. So that is one challenge, of course. We need to have a system that actually provides us with the possibility to change. And of course, we all work with very tight time schedules. It's not like we have oceans of time planning something totally different than we have done before. So it's also a question of time, but we still need to prioritize it. And as I mentioned earlier, it's also about the knowledge of the teachers and how do we actually make that happen. All levels, all the globe, everywhere, all teachers need to relearn. That is crucial. And I've heard many teachers saying either that doesn't concern my subject, or everything we do is about circular economy. None of them is true or are true, because this concerns every subject, every single subject and scientific field. Everybody should be doing this. And I really encourage teachers in different levels to take these matters into maths, into literature. You can write poems and read poetry on climate feeling or climate emotions. You can, in the maths, you can do simple life cycle analysis, like calculations and things like this. You can add these things or these issues into any subject, all levels. So that is also something that needs to be done. And that is a challenge, because we have to replan and we have to redo. And it's also about combining subjects. We're not really used to do that. Much of our teaching is planned to be all subjects separately from each other. Yeah. That we can't do in this matter. So it's a lot of things that challenges the way we used to do.
There are so many. Yeah. I would like to ask Flávio the following. Flávio, Senai develops curricular content and pedagogical strategies that include the circular economy. Could you give some examples in which this is already happening?
Oh, sure, thank you, Mariana. As I told before, in Senai we believe in two parallel strategies. So first, we develop some contents and strategies to the general public, to everyone. The book is an example of it, and when the people cannot scan the QR code later, we can pass on the booth of Senai down the ramp, and we'll be glad to share with you. But also develop the mobile unit, which is parked in the front of the building. Oh. And just for you to know, in the 4 months of this year, have already impacted, I say, 18,000 persons. So it's a very interesting way to bring circular economy concepts and idea to general public. Another important part is our courses on circular economy. I'm proud to say that we have just launched the 5 online short courses, which is available for free for everyone. But also, we have a platform that's called futuro.digital, in Portuguese, futuro.digital, which offer different courses on circular economy, much more longer, some of them with 60 hours, for example, for capacity building in general aspects of circular economy. But also, we have some work on specific sector that Senai attend. We attend dozens of industrial sectors, and then we develop a cross-cutting transversal matrix of competencies to try to map which competency each course, each industrial sector needs. And then we are starting now to develop with the coordinators and professors the revision of the course plans. As Emma told, just like the same, we have a general recommendation that each teacher can update or adjust its curriculum. And a last part, really interesting, is that Senai, it's running some partnerships to make some reuse of the material from our labs and prototypes. Our students make a lot of essays, prototypes, lab activities, so we use the scrap from those activities, process it in specific workshops to come back and be reused with the supervision of our professors to become again new prototypes, new products, and so on. So I believe there's a lot of different strategies to cope with the challenge of teaching circular economy to all.
Okay, thank you. Now, I would like to hear from Kai. Kai, how do you evaluate companies' recruitment and training to attract and retain new talent aligned with these circular economy values?
Actually, it's a very tough challenge because, as I said, when we look into life cycles, we have different stakeholders engaged, especially when we look into companies. It's not fully clear that different departments within one company work together. So if we look, for example, into logistics, if we look into engineering, into design, into manufacturing planning, it's not completely normal that they are fully aligned regarding issues of circular economy. And this is just one stakeholder over the entire life cycle. And it's challenging because basically one department doesn't really know what the other departments carries out. I think you know best. And if even within one company it's not fully aligned, how can we expect that it's aligned over the entire life cycle? And this is actually the biggest challenge, to share information and knowledge along the life cycle, to integrate this knowledge into the different perspectives of the different stakeholders. So, for example, it depends on the KPIs, key performance indicators within companies, which are set, and basically it's costs and quality. Now we are shifting towards sustainability issues, basically based on regulatory issues, but regulatory issues are not global, they are local, national, basically, or European from a European perspective. And that means we also have to transport and transform those KPIs to other stakeholders, for example, when it comes to resources and materials and supply chains. And this is just one issue where skill sets have to be developed. We are working very close with different companies, especially in the automotive and aviation sector. And if we also look to the end of life, it's getting even more complicated, because at the end of life, there is almost no information provided to the OEMs, to the manufacturers of, for example, cars and airplanes. But this is necessary to develop this understanding, and I think it's also necessary to understand, to develop this despite regulatory frameworks, despite national borders and so on, because it's actually an alignment throughout the entire life cycle, and this has to be performed, and companies have to shift also a bit towards their business models And this is a great opportunity for circularity to shift towards new business models, thinking not only about manufacturing, but also thinking about dismantling, for example. It can be the same company. And if this knowledge would be provided from this company to the same company, we would have great advantage in terms of circularity.
Thank you. The KPIs is a good example. I thought this all the time. Okay, well, I would like to ask Emma's opinion again. There's a need for education system to transition to the circular economy. A transition not only in programs, but also in the mindset of educators, as you told about. What about the mindset of students? Oh.
Yeah, what about the students?
What about the students?
Well, you often hear actually today or the last few years that the young generation is our hope. Well, let me tell you, they don't want to be our hope. They want to see our action. They have no interest being our hope and us putting all our trust in that they're going to fix our problems or the mess we have made up and the last few generations. They want us to fix those problems now. On Monday, we had the privilege to visit one of Senai's school here a few hours, or like half an hour, 1.5 hours outside Sao Paulo, and we met some really wonderful students there who presented their programs, and they were telling about their dreams, and it was really, really nice meeting them. And I felt warm, like really warm in my heart, thinking that these might be the future. Also many girls, which I was really, really happy to see. These might be the future engineers and future leaders in engineering. But I also thought that it will be like 20, 25 years before they are in the position of power. So we can't wait that long. So we can't rely on our students. They demand our actions now. And that is something that they really, I mean, they are asking for that. And I also often hear teachers having some kind of feeling that they need to be neutral, that they can't take a stand when it comes to circularity or sustainability, that it's that they have some kind of a feeling that it's about opinions and they don't want to become political and things like that. Well, it's not about opinions, it's about science. Yeah. So it's not a question about being neutral. We don't need to be neutral. We have to take actions as teachers. So we need to encourage critical thinking among our students, and they might not demand it themselves because they might not know that they need that, but that is our responsibility to give them, to make them become really critical thinkers in the world today.
Okay. Excellent. Flávio, now it's your turn. It's a specific question. Within the technical training of specific skills, there's a gap in training for electronic repairs, specifically, within this circular logic. Could you talk a little about this area? Give me one example, please.
Yes, sure, but firstly, I would like to break a little bit the protocol to support Emma's words, because I really enjoyed that you liked the experience in Senai, and just to tell you that we have some interesting practice to challenge the students. So in certain situations, we invite a company to bring a problem and put the students in groups together solving the problem. Those kind of activity really thrilled the students and bring their exciting to the classroom. So it's really interesting that you experienced this. But talking about repair, first of all, it's important to say that in the electronic industry, you have a nice example of an area where circular economy can play a great role. Because for many, many years, the electronic industry used a planned obsolescence strategy to sell their products. And now this is not acceptable anymore. So to use an internal joke of the sector, we need to dismantle this kind of strategy and think on products that not only are prepared, designed to be repaired, but also designed to last longer. So this means for our students, not only the specific skills of dismantling, because this is quite similar to the preparing and assembling of the equipment, but also on how to design the components, how to design the whole set of electronic equipment and devices to be able to last longer, to be repairable, to be recovered in different manners. So we really must tell our students that circular economy must go a lot beyond only recycling. We need to rethink things from the design. That's the key for a successful circular economy, can I say that?
Yes, great point. Now, let's turn to Kai. Kai, let's go to talk about practical experiences. Considering your view on the transformation in the job market, how do you see the role of practical experience, such as internships and applied projects, in training professionals prepared to work with sustainability and circular economy? And how can these experiences enhance the impact of traditional theoretical training?
I think it's most important to be more practical, because I could also give one example from Brazil. I was here in 2019, and we visited a company that produced machines for harvesting oranges and also producing orange juice. Janina knows. The basic idea, what they did before, was they produced those machines and they sold those machines to farmers worldwide, actually. And that means from a resource perspective, they produced those machines, resources were used, material was used, and they provided those machining actually to the farmers. And then they had a little shift in their business model, because they thought it would be also a good idea not only to produce machines and sell machines, but also in terms of product service systems, to provide those machines as a rental model to farmers. And that was challenging on the one hand, because they had to develop new skills in terms of how to create business models, for example, to run this business, skills to new capabilities they never had before. For example, how to use IoT devices, how to collect data, how to perform data, because if they don't sell this machining, it means they rent it, and they would like to know where it is, for example. What is the current status in terms of maintenance issues, for example, for this machining. And this was completely new, so they had to develop new skill sets. And on the other hand, they saved resources. And I think it comes very close together in this field, where new skills had to develop for a company, within a company, also for the farmers, because it was for them different business as well, not to have machining all the time around them, but have machining for the time for harvesting and producing orange juice, and then the machining was shifted to another farm. And they had also the shift in their business model. So that means the skills were different, and they had to develop not only on the side of the machine provider, but also on the farmer's side. And those skills had to develop. And if you have this image in mind, it cannot be theoretically developed. It has to be experienced, because nobody knows who is involved in this mindset, who is involved in the skill set, which skills in detail have to be developed, and so on. So it needs to be experienced. And from a German and European perspective, possibly, it's not very common to integrate students that close into industrial practice, but it is necessary. And even though we have those different stakeholders with those different skill sets, it's necessary to integrate them. We, from a Fraunhofer perspective, offer internships in this field. For example, we integrate also and work very close together with industrial partners in this field, but we can't go that deep, even though the industry is not that open-minded, basically, to integrate students so close into their business models, into their skill sets from a technical perspective, but it has to be developed further.
Thank you. Well, We have a few minutes left, 5 minutes. Emma, Flávio, and Kai, would you like to say some final words to the audience? Just a few words. We have only 5 minutes.
Famous last words. So.
The famous.
No, I say that we need to collaborate, both globally, but also on a grassroots and very local level. We need to work when it comes to circular economy as a way to a more sustainable world. We definitely need to collaborate over sector borders, over country borders, over continents. Everybody needs to take part in this transition.
Yeah.
Well, first, I'd like to invite everyone to continue this conversation tomorrow in a special acceleration session Senai will run in Hotel Renaissance at 9 a.m. You can check it at the program, so well, everybody is welcome. And just to end, I'd like to close with a quote from a guy that died yesterday, one of the greatest politicians of our era, Mr. Pepe Mujica, former president of Uruguay. Once, to the Deutsche Welle interview, he said, "We have invented a consumerist society in which economy has to grow, and we have invented a mountain of superfluous consumption, and we have to keep buying and throwing away. And what we are wasting is lifetime. Because when I buy something, I don't buy it just with money. I buy it with the lifetime I have to spend to earn that money. And there's one small difference. The only thing you cannot buy is life. And it's a miserable to waste your life to lose your freedom." So thank you very much.
Great. Kai, would you say something?
Yes, of course. No, it's fine. That was really lovely. Yeah. When I was a young research assistant, I was on my first scientific conference in India, and there was also an opening keynote, and he ended that keynote with, "Can we be greedy and sustainable?" And I've never found any answer for that, because we are still discussing that one. Can we be greedy and sustainable at the same time? And one solution might be circular economy, because often circularity is understood as an issue to be more sustainable, because we close resource gaps, we close material flows and data flows and so on. But what often is forgotten in terms of sustainability is the economic aspect, even though it's a pillar of sustainability. But thinking in terms of circular economy, I think we have a competitive advantage, because economy is included, and we cannot neglect economy. And yesterday there was also one interesting aspect in the keynote. It was about risk sharing. So if we think in terms of circularity, and we also understand that that different stakeholders has to be integrated along the entire life cycle, it's also about risk sharing. And it's not only about economic risk sharing, but also about material risk sharing, resource risk sharing, and so on. And if we understand this one as a full system and develop solution for that, then we could make a big advantage in terms of more circularity and also more circular economy.
Thank you. Now, I believe our time has come to an end. We conclude this meeting with the certainty that the transition to the circular economy involves education and the training of professionals prepared to transform the present. May the ideas presented here motivate us to continue connecting knowledge, industry, and sustainability. Thank you very much to everyone, and I hope to see you soon.